Welcome to the Church Solutions Podcast, brought to you by JSL Solutions. The Church Solutions Podcast is designed to help equip you and your church in the use of technology and other tools and services. And now, here are your hosts, Steve Lacey and Phil Thompson.
It's another edition of the Church Solutions Podcast.
Hi, my name is Steve Lacey.
And I'm Phil Thompson. Great to have you here again as we do another podcast. We work with churches, we work with ministries, because we're a tech company. And what's the name of our tech company? I forget.
We are streamingchurch.tv.
All right, good.
All right. Then we're talking about...
But the parent company. See,
JSL Solutions.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, JSL Solutions. And we have streamingchurch.tv.
We have streamingchurch.tv.
And we have churchapplive.com.
And myflock.com. We do.
That's right.
All right. What are we talking about today?
I'm adjusting your level here because you changed.
Oh, I did?
After I did the test. I'm sure Trent would not be happy. He was our guest last week. He's the audio expert, which I thought was a good podcast last week.
Yeah.
Good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wholehearted Productions. WHOLE.
Yes.
Hearted Productions. Actually, wholeheartedpro.com is his website. See, we're plugging him. He's not even our guest today.
That's right.
See, I'm great at filling time. It's a radio thing.
It's
all right.
a thing you learned in the radio. We don't need to fill time.
No,
so
we don't.
Let's
and
get
people
moving.
Are going like, oh, please. All right, so we're going to talk about streaming today. Imagine that. Streaming in HD.
Yes.
HD stands for?
High definition, which is a relative term.
It is relative.
But, yeah, a lot of, we deal with a lot of customers and a lot of people, ooh, I heard HD. Do you guys stream HD? And so there's a lot of misinformation, I think, out there about streaming in HD. So we're going to go through some of the myths and some of the facts, I guess, huh?
That's the plan. We'll see how far we get.
Yeah.
But that's the plan. Yeah.
One of the things, I'm not sure we have a topic point in our notes here, but not everybody can do HD, and we'll get customers or ministries that go to, well, can you do HD? And our answer is, we can do whatever you can do, basically. We don't quite answer it that way.
I can do better? Is that how that works?
It's one of the things, a lot of people think, well, the streaming company is going to determine the quality of your stream, and if they can do a really good job, it'll look really good. But actually, the quality happens right at the source. Yeah. So,
there's streaming companies that can screw things up.
Yeah, they can probably make it worse than it is.
Make it worse.
It's hard to make it any better. Yeah. But the HD happens at the source, and there's some factors that play into that.
Yeah. So the question that a lot of people have is, well, why shouldn't you stream at the highest possible setting? Because you want HD, you want Ultra HD.
Right. So
why not?
I guess as we get into this, this kind of ties in with what I was just saying. To stream in HD requires setting the highest resolutions, which require the highest bandwidth, both on the sending it out and on the receiving side.
That's
so if you want HD, you need not only equipment. All cameras support HD now. That wasn't the case 10 years ago, but all the cameras will support at least HD now. But probably the weakest point with the ministries we deal with is their upload speed. They don't recognize that. Oh, I want to send out an HD stream. That's going to require 2.5 megabits upload at a minimum, meaning my upload speeds never gets anywhere near that speed, that low of a speed. Yeah,
we'll get into that. And it's primarily, obviously, your upload speed for your internet, but also, you do have to have, your encoder, if you have it on a computer, your computer's got to have enough CPU, enough processing power to do high-resolution stuff and to do even some more, which we can get into in a minute.
Right.
So there's a little more to this, but let's talk about it and let's explore this. So again, one of the most commons that we face is people want to stream a really, really high-quality stream, but again, as you just mentioned, internet fails them or equipment doesn't have them. So the big question is, well, what's the appropriate HD setting? If people, what's the appropriate stream?
Right. So my answer to that is it depends. It depends on the viewing environment. So if I'm broadcasting to a big screen TV, I'm going to want the highest definition that I can possibly do.
Right.
If I'm streaming to my phone, that resolution or that quality is wasted on the screen size on your phone.
Yeah, I would say that's true. And also, I would say that, you know, I mean, there's the stats I've seen recently is that I think over 50% of the people now are viewing live streaming on their mobile device.
Yeah.
So it's definitely going up. My computer's doing weird things here, speaking of computers. So that's definitely a good answer, Steve. It depends on what you're trying to do with your stream. So it's going to depend on what you're doing, but it has to do also with who you're streaming to. So if you're streaming at a really, really, really high bit rate, really, really ultra HD, you may have people that can't get that. They can't digest that coming back down. Does that make sense?
Yes, that can definitely be the case. I mean, we have solutions for that as well.
We do.
But there's a way to serve a mixed audience.
Right. Now, you know, there's a little thing that I saw somewhere here about ESPN. You know what ESPN is, right?
Yes.
What's ESPN stand for?
Entertainment and Sports Network.
You got it. Bingo. Good job.
It took me a second to think of it. But.
If you're an Arizona Wildcat fan, you don't like ESPN right now.
Oh, why is that?
Because of the whole Sean Miller thing and the whole coaching thing. We're going to get off track here. We're going to lose the 9 people we have listening to us. But so ESPN, they set their highest live streaming quality at a 720 resolution, and they stream about 2,500 kilobytes per second. That's ESPN. So that's a pretty good example of real-world HD when it comes to live streaming. So if you decide to stream at this quality, then you're going to want, as you just mentioned, probably some additional other streaming qualities at the same time, which we'll get into in a moment.
Right, because not everyone's going to be on a network that can support that.
So if you're sitting at McDonald's, you know, at McDonald's Cafe or whatever they call it, and you're on their Wi-Fi, it may not be very
terrible.
Yeah, it's bad. Well, that's why I'm using them as an example.
Okay.
But so McDonald's Wi-Fi, not very good, right? And they're not the only ones out there, right? Because it's public Wi-Fi.
It is free and it's public, but...
It is free and it's public, so I've heard people complain, you know, you're complaining about their Wi-Fi. How much are you paying for that Wi-Fi? It's like, well, I'm paying for it with the Big Mac I'm chewing on or whatever. But so, you know, somebody listening in an area, the Wi-Fi is not good or the data is not good or whatever, they're going to have a problem getting a high-quality stream on their mobile device.
Right. So we have solutions for that, but I'm kind of getting back with the nature is... The answer is, you know, what bit rate should I stream at?
Right.
I think you're going to want to stream at the highest quality that you are capable of sending and the highest quality your people are capable of consuming, because there are constraints there that, you know, outside of the boundaries of this. You know, you just can't say, oh, I'm just going to send the highest quality stream I can. You got to kind of adhere to the constraints of both what you can send and you know, just how I answer this with any, you know, with other potential ministries working with us we are not the constraint. The streaming server system is not the constraint. We can process whatever is sent. The Ultra HD, the 4K we can process. We can. It's all possible. But the fact that you're on the internet, you're going to run into some things that don't have those capabilities.
I've heard some people say that the internet in certain other countries, like in Europe, is much better than it is in the United States. Do you believe that?
I am not sure. I have heard other comments about that, but you never know. So
the point is, it's the internet. And I know it's 2018, but it still can get kind of fickle. It doesn't always work right, and there's problems, and golf tournaments come into town and steal your bandwidth.
Well, it's the internet, and it's your computer capturing and encoding the video.
Right.
Because that's probably more common with the ministries we deal with.
Right.
Is their computers can't keep up.
Right. So let's talk about this now as far as, okay, what should I be sending? What quality, as you just mentioned? So there's some settings you can do if you have the right tools, and they're available out there. They're easily available. We call it adaptive bitrate.
Yes.
ABR, adaptive bitrate. So you can send multiple streams if you have, number one, a live encoder that gives you that ability, and we can push vMix, V as in victory, VMIX.com.
Or Wirecast.
Wirecast is another one.
Yes.
So we can do that. There's maybe some other ones out there too, but those are the ones on computers that you can download. You can send multiple streams. So let's say life is good and you feel like you have plenty of internet upload speed at your location, in which you should always do a speed test just to make sure. And again, check your upload speed. So let's talk about
another just. Hopefully not digress too much, but you run it. They go, oh, it's Thursday afternoon. I ran a speed test and I got 5 megabits up, so I'm going to send up 4 megabits per second.
Right.
And then they call us Sunday morning and say the stream is buffering and skipping, and it worked great on Thursday.
Right.
Well, what people don't fail to realize is that you add, a few hundred to a few thousand people to your facility, all which. And you have an open Wi-Fi that they've connected with in the past,
right?
They're going to chew up some of that bandwidth.
They are, and they will, and that will affect your internet.
And they'll go, wow, but I'm on the wired network and they're on the Wi-Fi, so that shouldn't bother me.
No. Wrong answer.
Wrong answer. Yeah,
I call it internet
the same pipe.
Yeah, unless you have a different network, and that which some churches have
a different ISP, internet service provider. Really, what you mean? Because a lot of people say, "Well, I got one network over here, and it's segued to this," but they all go through the same modem that takes me out to the internet. Yeah. Then you have one choke point.
I call it internet atrophy, which I've never heard anybody use that term. But hey, I wrote a book, so I can say that. I can call it. Maybe I should patent that. Or what do they call it? Copyright? Internet atrophy.
It atrophies on the weekends?
Yeah. Goes down, shrinks. Right. That's what atrophy means, right? I'm good at butchering words up, as you always point out. All right, so let's talk about sending some multiple streams. How do they do this, and what should they be sending? So,
our scenario one here was that I've got consistent 5 megabits per second upload. It's never, it bounces around between 10 and 5 all the time, and it never drops down below that. Mm-hmm. And I've got a computer that is capable of encoding a HD stream at a higher bit rate. So what we would recommend is you send out 3 streams. One would be the HD stream that those that are viewing with fast connections and big devices are going to receive. And with
go ahead.
And with our system and other systems as well, the video player, if it's capable of the adaptive bitrate technology, it will sense the connection that the viewer has and their equipment and serve them up the appropriate stream. So
so it's
all automatic. Yeah. Okay. So ABR will go in and say, "Oh, this guy's sending me this great stream, and it's 2 megabits per second, and your connection's at 1.5." So it will downshift to the next available one. Okay. So anyway, that's why you send 3 streams: a high, medium, and low.
Okay. So what's the first? Should we go into what they should be?
Sure. So. Or just some. These are some recommendations,
right?
And so one would be sending a 720p stream at 2 megabits per second or 2,000 kilobits per second,
right? Okay.
And then a second stream at 480p, a little lower resolution, at 700 kilobits per second,
right?
And then the third would be a 240p stream at 300 kilobits per second.
Okay. Now, again, we left out this, what about 1080? We talked about this at the very beginning of the podcast. I mean, ESPN doesn't even do 1080. So, if you're going to do 1080, again, you could do that, but you're going to have to crank up the bit rate.
Yeah, you could definitely do 1080. It would not be
But our point is...
You would need some... And the higher the resolution and the faster you're encoding it, the more CPU it uses on your through your encoder.
And again, our point is you might be just kind of wasting that because the 720 would be pretty good.
Yeah.
Again, unless you're doing flat screen TVs.
Yeah, if you're projecting to a flat screen TV or another auditorium.
Going to a different campus.
Yeah, then you really want to crank that up.
Okay, all right. So you got very good equipment. You've got really good internet connection. So, 720 at 2,000 kilobytes per second, or maybe a little more, 480 at 700 kilobytes per second. The third stream would be 240. Now, we've got two other scenarios here, but somebody's probably going, well, okay, I want to do that. How do I do that? Do I just do it now? And you would have to contact us if you were using us, streamingchurch.tv, and say, hey, I want to do adaptive bitrate. I want to do 3 streams. And then we would say, okay, we will do that for you. And we'll tell you how to do that and set up things on the back end. And so that's the quick answer. But you would set up 3 streams from your live encoder. All right, go ahead. Next scenario.
Right, so our next scenario is you've got, the first was very good equipment and very good internet. This is just good equipment and
just good,
and a good internet connection.
Not very good, good.
Yes,
that's scientific. All right, go ahead.
Yes, so we were suggesting, and you can do 3 streams or you can do just 2 streams.
Right.
So just realize that if you do 2 streams instead of 3 streams, depending on what those bit rates are at, your computer is doing less work.
Right.
So that will relieve any kind of CPU peaking loads, or even your hardware encoder is going to do,
less work.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, hardware encoders are just computers that all they do is encoding.
Right.
Worked last week with a guy with a TriCaster, so it's interesting. You get into the bowels of it. It's running Windows.
Yeah.
So,
I'm sure you were disappointed when you first learned that many years ago.
I'm like, oh my gosh,
you love Windows.
What kind of foundation are you building this thing on? Anyway, I digress. So, a good internet connection and good equipment. We're recommending running the 720p at 1.5 megabits per second, and then
kilobytes per. Yeah, you're right. 1.5 or 1,500 kilobytes per second. Go ahead.
Sorry, and a 360p second stream at 500 kilobits per second.
Right. Yeah, and then the third one would be you have fair equipment and fair internet connection as opposed to good or gooder. Scientific. See, we're scientific around here. I'm being funny, but you have fair equipment. This third scenario we're going to talk about. Fair equipment, fair internet. So not sure what that really means. It just means you're maybe hopping along on Windows 7. I don't know. But and so that would be, again, going to 2 streams instead of 3 and doing a 480p instead of a 720. And with your 480p, you could do 600-700 kilobytes per second. Look okay. Second stream would be really low quality, a 240p again, and probably around 300 kilobytes per second.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people out there. This kind of reminds me of the bottled water versus the tap water test. Have you had friends of yours run through this?
Kind of, but go ahead.
So I would challenge you to on your computer or on your phone, go and view. We'll send you an HD stream that's 1080p versus 720p, and you would need to do the blind taste test and tell us which one was 720p and which one was 1080p. Now, on a big screen TV, it's not hard, but on a computer or on your phone,
especially a small,
you're going to have a hard time telling which is which.
Yeah, I'm sure there's somebody out there right now going, "That's not true. I can tell you. I can prove it." So we'll give you a test, and
we'll send out 2 streams and
free tickets to the Tucson Rodeo or something.
You got to send them. Watch them on your iPhone, and you can tell me which is which.
Yeah, absolutely. So there actually is a 4th scenario here that we have. We've just given you 3, but there is one more.
Yeah, and we've. And this was our borderline. And actually, we've in the past we've done trade shows and had just a cell connection at our booth and we broadcast over the cell connection.
Yeah.
So and it was not it wasn't a 4G or 5G. It was not a great cell connection, but we could get, I don't know, consistently 600-700 kilobits per second upload.
Oh, okay.
So we would broadcast at, a 240p at, 300 kilobits per second or so. And
it worked.
It worked. You could definitely tell what was going on.
Yeah.
And because, even if you have the highest quality video signal, but it stops or starts getting pixelated,
right,
then people aren't going to enjoy that. And this is a bonus thing for free. But if your video stops and buffers and starts and stops, that's an internet connection issue, either sending your stream out or receiving your stream. If things look pixelated, and especially the movement on the screen is pixelated, that's an encoding computer problem, unable to keep up with the demand.
And pixelation would be, to describe that to somebody who may not know what pixelation is, they look like they're trying to be transported to the Enterprise, maybe?
Yeah, kind of. And it's usually, it's part of the image that is pixelated. Unless it's any movement. You really notice it with movement.
I've seen green, too. I've seen a lot of green stuff that shows up.
A lot of green pixels show up, and they... Yeah.
It's like Scotty's trying to beam you up, but it just isn't working.
Yes, exactly. So that's, we'll get, phone calls and it's all pixelated. Well, your server's not. We're passing on what's coming from the source, and so we could trace down to the source, and you'll typically find that my computer is not able to. I'm dropping frames.
It's 100% CPU right now.
Yeah, and it's dropping frames right and left, which means it can't render that, and it's dropping pixels.
Can't keep up. Help me.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. It's sweating bricks. And I actually had somebody a couple weeks ago on our chat. We have live chat on streamingchurch.tv on the website, and I don't want to put this guy down because he might be listening, but one of his questions was, look, we got a situation where we don't really have internet, and we're trying to do this in a movie theater, and we've been working with this one company, and it's just not working. Can you guys fix this? And my answer was, well, if you don't have very good internet, I don't care who you use, it's going to be a problem. Doesn't matter who you use. I said, we could try to work with you, but you're going to have issues if you have bad internet or no internet. And to his credit, he goes, look, I have no idea. I've just been ordered to call you and ask you.
One thing that would set us apart, shameless plug for us, is we are willing to work with you and spend the time to find out what your situation is and put remedies together.
Yeah. And I spent quite a bit of time with them. I said, look, we'll help you, but, you do have to have some type of internet. And he wanted to use a hotspot, which, again, could work. You just mentioned that.
You just need to dial things back.
But you've definitely, and I mentioned all, but he, and to his credit, I mean, I'm not putting the guy down. He goes, I really don't know about this. I'm just trying to get information here. I said, okay, well, this is what you would have to do or could do. Now, look, there is one more solution to this, which we haven't talked about. It's called transcoding. And we have a couple minutes here. Transcoding, you want to tell us what that is?
Sure.
As an alternative to sending 3 streams.
Yeah, so adaptive bitrate, you basically create 3 streams at the source, and the 3 streams are made available on our server, and the video player will choose which one is the right one. Transcoding allows you to send just one very high-quality stream.
Yeah.
And then on our server end, it takes that one very high-quality stream and creates lower-quality streams out of it. And so it's still, from the viewer's vantage point, it's doing the exact same thing that adaptive bitrate is doing, in that the video player is going to switch between whatever is the most appropriate stream for them and their environment. But one advantage is you only send one stream out.
Right, and
from
somebody,
your source.
Yeah, and somebody having OBS or something that sends one stream, going, that's what I want. That's what I need. Transcoding. So what's the downside to that?
So the downside of transcoding is it can be expensive.
Yeah, it is expensive because it costs a lot of money.
Yeah, and there are third-party services. We also provide a service as well. along these same lines, you can kind of do some. Well, anyway, I won't go into that. But transcoding can be expensive. Yeah. So several $100s a month, and primarily because it's taken the load that your encoder would normally be doing, and it's putting that load on our servers. And so servers have to work a lot harder, and so you need a lot more hardware and beefy, and so you get to pay for it.
Yeah. So, but hey, talk to us about it. We can talk to you if you're interested in transcoding. So, all right, good. Well, I think we're done here. We're pretty much out of time. So. Yes. Streaming in HD. Hey, if you have we just touched this, and so we understand that you may have questions. So send us an email, support@streamingchurch.tv. And if you have questions about HD and maybe you disagree with us, well, that's fine. We'd be happy to talk to you about it, or to at least get your feedback. Support@streamingchurch.tv. And hopefully this has helped a little bit. And one of the things I mentioned to Steve earlier before we went on here is that, we probably need to tell people, look, we are we're a lean and mean fighting machine. We're not mean, but what I'm getting at is we will work with you on things, and we will help you if you've got a special project, if you want to stream to multiple campuses, if you want to do something that might be a little different. Talk to us about it, because we might be able to fix it, help you, or point you in the right direction. So do that. We're here to help. Seriously, we're here to serve. So, all right, we're done. All right, thanks, Steve. Thanks for your feedback on this. And again, we'd love to get your feedback. And he is Steve Lacey. I am Phil Thompson. Thanks for listening to the Church Solutions Podcast. We will catch you again next time. Have a great day.